You're listening to Understanding Everything with OpenBee, the podcast that sheds light on tomorrow's digital challenges for small and medium-sized business leaders.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving straight into something critical for pretty much every business out there. Cybersecurity.
Absolutely. It's moved way beyond just the IT department's problem.
Right. It's fundamental now, especially with these new European regulations coming down the pike.
Exactly. And the stats really paint a picture. The 2024 CASIN barometer, for instance, found nearly 1 in 2 French companies experienced a cyber attack. Just think about that.
1 in 2?
Yeah.
That's huge. It's less a wake-up call and more like a fire alarm going off.
It really is. And it underscores that this isn't just some technical nuisance. It's about survival, about resilience in what's become a pretty hostile digital world.
And what really gets me is how often these attacks succeed because of, us.
Yeah.
Human error.
That's a massive factor. It completely changes the game, doesn't it?
It does. It means cybersecurity isn't just about having the best software shields up. It's about how every single employee handles information.
Precisely. That old model of IT being the sole guardians, it's just not viable anymore. Everything's connected. You need a whole company approach.
Which I guess leads us straight into these regulations you mentioned, NIS2 and DORA.
Yep. NIS2 is the upcoming directive kicking in 2025, and DORA is already in play. They're essentially forcing the issue, pushing for much stronger cybersecurity and digital resilience across Europe.
Okay, so NIS2, DORA. They might sound a bit technical, but the takeaway is they're the new standard for a lot of businesses.
That's right. They are significantly raising the bar. We're talking stricter rules for risk management, how you report incidents, and really key for our chat today, how you secure your data and documents.
And it's not just the giant corporations that need to worry, is it?
Not at all. That's a crucial point. A lot of small and medium enterprises, SMEs, are going to find themselves needing to comply, especially if you handle sensitive data, maybe you work with local government, or you're a subcontractor for critical sectors like energy or transport.
So if you're running a smaller business, you really can't afford to think, this doesn't apply to me.
Definitely not. Because think about it, just one clever phishing email that someone clicks or one important document that isn't secured properly, the cost can be astronomical. We're talking financial loss, serious reputational damage.
Makes sense. Which is why understanding these rules and, more importantly, how to comply is so vital. And that really sets up our deep dive today, right? How do businesses navigate this, especially around keeping their documents secure?
Exactly. And one tool that can be incredibly helpful here, a potential cornerstone for compliance and better security, is a document management system, a DMS.
The DMS.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about something more advanced than just, shared folders on a server.
Oh, absolutely. A proper DMS gives you much more control, much more visibility.
How does it specifically help with meeting these NIS2 and DORA requirements then?
Well, think about centralization. A good DMS brings all your important documents into one secure place. No more scattering sensitive files across desktops or random cloud drives.
Yeah, that sounds like a security nightmare waiting to happen. Centralization makes sense.
And then it adds layers of control. You can track who accesses what, when, what they did. You can enforce strict access permissions. These are all things that NIS2 and DORA are pushing for.
Okay, that control aspect sounds crucial. But you mentioned a good DMS. I assume not all DMS solutions are created equal, especially in this context.
That's a really important distinction. Choosing the right DMS is critical. You need to look closely at a couple of things.
Like what?
Well, first, where's the data actually hosted? For European businesses, having a DMS hosted within Europe is a big plus. It helps with data sovereignty, aligning with GDPR and other EU regulations.
Like keeping data local makes sense from a legal standpoint. What else?
Certifications. Look for recognized security standards. ISO 27001 is the big one internationally for information security management. It basically tells you the provider takes security seriously and follows established best practices.
Okay, so ISO 27001 is a good indicator. So when a company is shopping around, what key questions should they be asking potential DMS providers? Beyond just the feature list, I mean.
Good question. You definitely need to dig deeper. Ask, is my data encrypted, both when it's moving and when it's just sitting there at rest?
Encryption check.
What else? Where are the physical servers? We talked about Europe, but get specific. Data residency matters.
Got it. Location, location, location.
Exactly. Then certifications. Ask specifically which ones they hold. ISO 27001, maybe HDS if you're in healthcare in France, perhaps Secnum Cloud for certain high security needs.
Okay. And is there anything else?
Yes, and this one's really important. What happens if things go wrong? Ask them. What kind of support will you provide if we actually have a security incident? How will you help us respond?
Oh, that's crucial. It's not just about buying software, it's about partnership, right? Finding a provider who's actually going to be there to help you navigate the compliance maze and, well, potential crises.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's about finding a trustworthy provider who offers support and ultimately some peace of mind, not just a piece of technology.
So the DMS is a key tool. But getting ready for NIS2 and DORA isn't just about getting a DMS, is it? You mentioned a broader approach.
Absolutely not. The DMS is part of a bigger picture. Compliance requires a really comprehensive, holistic strategy. There are several key actions companies need to take.
Okay, let's break down that strategy. What are the main pillars?
First up, risk assessment. You absolutely have to start by figuring out where you're vulnerable, what are your specific risks, and then, crucially, develop action plans to address those weaknesses.
Understand your weak spots, then make a plan. Makes sense. What comes next?
Implementing clear cybersecurity policies. This isn't just vague guidelines. We're talking strict protocols for data protection, who gets access to what, how you manage security incidents if they happen, how you respond to an actual attack.
So formal rules and procedures.
Got it. Then, a really big one, training and awareness for all employees. Remember the human error point. People need to understand the risks, know the best practices, and be able to spot and react to threats like phishing emails.
Right. The human firewall needs to be strong too. What about the tech side?
That's next, strengthening your IT infrastructure. This means adopting more advanced solutions. Things like multi-factor authentication, making it harder for bad actors to get in even if they have a password, smart firewalls, continuous monitoring of your systems to spot suspicious activity early.
Okay, so beefing up the technical defenses, is that everything?
One more key piece, collaboration with trusted providers. This loops back to our DMS discussion, but it applies more broadly. You need to work with partners, vendors, service providers who are themselves certified and can demonstrate their commitment to security and compliance.
It really sounds like a multi-layered approach, covering technology, processes, people, and partners.
That's exactly what it is.
Now, you mentioned OpenB DMS earlier as a tool that fits into this. What specific features does it have that align with these security needs and regulations?
Right. OpenB has built-in features specifically designed for this environment. For starters, strict access controls. It uses things like two-factor authentication or 2FA, and forces secure HTTPS access. This makes sure only the right people get in.
Okay, strong gatekeeping. What else?
It also uses a locking policy for inactivity and adopts what's called a zero-trust approach.
Zero trust. What does that mean in practice?
Basically, it means the system doesn't automatically trust anyone or anything trying to access resources, even if they're already inside the network. It constantly verifies. It really minimizes the risk if one account gets compromised.
Okay, so it's constantly checking credentials. What about protecting the documents themselves?
Data is encrypted, as we discussed being important, and it offers very granular permissions. You can control down to a very fine level who can see a document, who can edit it, who can share it.
That sounds useful for sensitive information.
Very.
Yeah.
Plus, there's complete action traceability. Every single thing done to a document, viewing, editing, downloading, sharing, it's all logged. This provides a crucial audit trail for compliance and investigations.
Audit trails, right. What about sharing documents outside the company? That always feels like a risky point.
OpenB addresses that too, with secure external sharing options, like requiring passwords to access shared documents.
And what about the hosting aspect we talked about earlier? Where does OpenB keep its cloud data?
That's another point highlighted. The OpenB cloud applications are hosted in Orange data centers, located right here in France.
Ah, so that ticks the data sovereignty box for European companies.
Exactly, and it ensures high availability. Plus, Orange themselves implement extremely high levels of physical security at these data centers, strict access controls, constant monitoring, dedicated security teams. This physical security is also a key consideration under NIS2.
So it's security in the software and security the physical infrastructure where the data lives. That sounds comprehensive.
It is. But it's important to reiterate, even a system like OpenB isn't a silver bullet on its own.
Right. It has to be part of that wider strategy you outlined.
Precisely. You still need those other elements firmly in place. Continuous threat monitoring across your environment, well-rehearsed incident response plans. The DMS is a powerful tool for document security and compliance, but it operates within that larger cybersecurity ecosystem.
So the real strength comes from combining the right tools, like a secure DMS, with those comprehensive strategies: risk assessment, policies, training, monitoring, partnerships. That's how companies can actually meet these regulatory demands and build genuine, lasting resilience against cyber threats.
That's the goal. It's about moving from just box-ticking compliance to embedding security sustainably into the way the business operates.
This has been incredibly insightful. It really underscores that with cyber attacks becoming more frequent and sophisticated, and with regulations like NIS2 and DORA raising the stakes, being proactive about cybersecurity, especially around documents, isn't really optional anymore.
No, it's a fundamental business necessity now. It's just part of the cost of doing business in the digital age.
It truly is. Which leads us to a final thought for you, our listener, to ponder. As our businesses and economies become ever more interconnected, what are the ripple effects? How might a failure by individual companies to prioritize comprehensive cybersecurity, including that robust document management we've discussed, ultimately impact the stability and security of the entire economic landscape? Something definitely worth thinking about. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.
If you found this episode helpful, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next ones.